Hello, how you all doing? Welcome back to a very new and exciting tutorial. Today we're going to look on how to create this very badass samurai character that we have over here, this very interesting concept art that we have right here for Mika animation. So let's have a look at the two pieces of artwork that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to model, sculpt, texture, rig, and probably we're going to render this badass samurai character for this multi-series tutorial over here at mikaanimation.com. Now let's have a look at the character that we have. As you can see, he has a lot of armor pieces, a lot of clothing, probably for winter war or something, for him to get prepped up for some kind of epic warfare that he's going to have. Probably we're gonna get him battle a dragon or something like that, so we'll see. But for this tutorial for now, we're going to start on how to model this character, and then later on we're gonna go on to ZBrush and sculpt it, and after that we're gonna use either 3D Code or Substance Painter to go ahead and paint this guy, and finally we're gonna rig, pose, and render him. So let's get started on this new tutorial. So we're gonna get started on our samurai modeling project. Now what I've done here is I've gone ahead and set up the image plane for the front and side view of our samurai character. If you don't know how to go ahead and create these image planes, please go ahead and check out my Maya for Beginners video right here, so that you can know how to do it step by step. And I've also gone ahead to create a Maya project. Again, if you don't know how to do that, please go ahead and check out my Maya for Beginners video series. So another thing to let you know is that we're using Maya 2017 for this one. Now I know that Maya 2018 is already out, and the reason why I'm using 2017 is because we have V-Ray installed for 2017, and everything else is just much more stable over here before we actually explore on 2018. So there's not much difference really in terms of the workflow. I mean, you can still get the nice results. Of course, there are some improvements in 2018, but that doesn't mean you can't use an older version of Maya. Of course, you don't want to go too far ahead. It's best to maybe about 2016, 2017, 2018, the past 3 years. That's the best. So we're not too far behind, and we can get a lot of things done with Maya 2017 as well. Alright, so we're gonna dive in and we're gonna start using our Maya tools to create our samurai project over here. Now one more thing over here is I've gone ahead and created some of the more common shortcuts that I've used over the years over here. Again, if you don't know how to create all these shortcuts and all of this basic stuff, please go ahead and check out my Maya for Beginners video series. So first of all, what we're going to do is I'm going to start to create a cube over here. I'm going to press Ctrl A, and I'm going to change some settings to the cube over here. So probably I'll have it 3 by 3 by 2, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and smooth this guy. So I'm going to go to my mesh and smooth. Right, so what I have over here is I have a good number of polygons for me to move around, for me to start to create the body. And so I'm just going to center the pivot, and what we're going to do is we're going to scale it up to the general shape of this guy, right? And what I like to have is I like to have my X ray turned on as well over here for this. Right, so from here I can start to move the vertices around to follow the shape of my character. Right, so let's go ahead and squeeze this guy in a bit, and let's start the modeling process. So right off the bat, I like to move some of these guys in and push some of these guys out. I like to have a bit of an arc over here. Right, so I'm just going to rotate it just a bit, so it's going to follow this line instead. Right, so instead of it going to be too squared out, it's going to follow that line. And what I want to do is I just want to delete the faces at the top here. Right, usually I will delete the faces at the top over here, and I would like that to remain open. Right, let's just go ahead and delete some of these guys over here. Oops, let me just undo that. Let me go ahead and delete some of these guys over here. Right, I like to have this guy remain open, and at the bottom as well. Right, let's go ahead and delete that as well. Right, now again, I realized right off the bat I might have too much polygon to begin with, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete some of these polygons that I might not need over here, and perhaps later on we can go ahead and restore it. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete the edge vertex for this one. Right, and we're just gonna move in some of this guy. Again, try to get an organic shape as possible. Again, I'm only gonna concentrate on one half first. Later I'll delete the other half, just to get the organic shape going on. Perhaps I'll just delete the half right now, so it's easy to see. And like I said again, I want to have an arc going on over here so that it kind of follow the body movement and body flow of the character. Right, this is where we have so-called the rib cage area, the start of the rib cage area, and this is where the stomach starts to pop out over here. Right, so this is where we're gonna start to move some of these areas out a bit. And this is where the butt is, so we're going to start to push it out just a little bit over here. Right, so I'm just gonna go to my front next and start to move these guys around as well. So that's where the abdomen is. And right over here, I think right on top here, I'm just going to delete the first group here. Again, I just want to work with as less polygons as I can in the beginning. And then later on, we can start to increase and decrease the areas that we need to. Now again, I'm just going to use, at least I'm going to do somewhat of a mid polygon model over here, because at the end of the day we're going to bring this to ZBrush and sculpt in the details of this model later on. Alright, so more or less the shapes are there, but it's still a bit too squarish, so I'm just going to move in some of these guys over here just to make it a bit more organic shape. And what I like to do is to have a proper flow. Organic modeling is all about the flow of the edges, so I just like to have a proper flow for as much of these models as I can get. Now I'm just doing the basic, I'm not doing the costumes and the other stuff just yet. I'm just doing the basic setup for the shape of the body for this guy first, so later on we can talk about the other details of the costume and whatever he has. He has a lot of things going on, you know, being a samurai character and all. He has to have a lot of this armor stuff that he has to bring along, just in case he meets a dragon along the way or something like that. Right, so the idea is just to make sure that everything follows a proper shape and proper line, right, before we actually move on. So I'm quite happy with that. Perhaps I'm just going to move in some of these edges here, just a tight bit. Alright, so let's move on. Let's move on to the body first. Let's go ahead and do the body, upper body first, and then we'll go focus on the other parts, on the lower leg and lower body. Alright, so I'm just going to extrude this again. Right, so I might even delete one out of these edges because I just want it to separate out a bit better, but we'll leave it like this for now. And just gonna move some of these areas over here. It's a good practice for you to extrude the whole line once and then move the vertices to the right or to the left on one side, and then go to the front and then do the same thing again, and not just continue extruding and not moving the vertices on both the front and side. So it's a good practice to do that instead. So let's just move these edges to the up a bit and move these guys down a bit. Yep, somewhat like that works for now. Now right over here is where the so-called tricky part gets, because this is where he starts to meet his armpit, and then we start to bring it down over here, and we need to make sure that the topology of this character is correct. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start to extrude not everything but just the front part first. So perhaps just these 3 edges, or perhaps 2, let's see. Alright, let's just extrude these 3 edges first, and we're going to push him up a bit. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push, this is where his chest starts to take shape over here. Right, so I'm just going to push some of this to position again. You're not seeing his muscles and stuff like that, so I'm not going to have a proper anatomy going on over here, but as long as it meets the basic shape, I'm quite happy, right? Because again, like I said, you're not seeing his muscles, you're not seeing all of his abdomens and all of those muscle groups over there. So let's not care too much about that, but just let's try to get the basic shape out there first, right? So I'm gonna push some of these guys to the back over here and move this in just a bit. Perhaps this guy can go out a bit more. Alright, so that's where the chest starts to take shape over there. Right, so the idea here is that we need to have some form of a circle shape over here to connect, because that's where the arms and stuff start to take place over here, and perhaps I need to draw a line over here to make sure it flows with the hand as well. So I'm going to leave that right there for now, and what we're going to do is we're going to create another cylinder. I'm going to create a cylinder, and then we're going to start to extrude the hand and connect it to this guy over here. Right, so we're going to continue on, and what I'm going to do first is I would like to build up some of his back area over here. So I'm just going to select those edges at the back over there, and let's go ahead and extrude this guy and move them into place. Right, so the idea is we're trying to create a circle over here where our cylinder is going to match up. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue with that and extrude it up again. And we can kind of rotate this and let this kind of flow together. So the idea is to flow all the way in this way. Right, so let's have a look from the front as well. There might not be so much information over there, but this is something for us to play along with. So the idea is for me to get perhaps just one of these to connect all the way to this guy over here. So we're gonna push this up, push this down, and you get the idea for us to snap this. You can press and hold V to snap it all to these vertices over here, and we're gonna go ahead and merge some of these guys over here later on. So let me just move this up a bit, and perhaps I'll go ahead and use multi-cut tool over here, cut it over here and push this up over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and merge these guys, merge this and merge this. Now for you to check whether the merge works or not, usually my workflow is I just press 3, and then you can see that it's already merged properly. If it's not merged properly, you will see a gap over here. Alright, so usually I'll press 3 to move that, and eventually I'm going to press 3 because we're not doing a game model this time. We're going to do a model for animation or for production use, so it will be a much higher resolution model. Alright, so there you go. Basically we can get a very basic male anatomy up here already. I'm just going to do is I'm going to move some of this around. Now one more thing is that you might notice that this part here is different from the bottom part, and that's because this is a hard edge and below here is a soft edge. So basically what we need to do is we need to go ahead and soften the edges for this whole model. Alright, so what we can do first is to go ahead and soften the edges over here. So just click that. Again, to go the long way around, the soften edges is actually over here. Alright. Again, if you want to know what are all these tools that I have over here and how to find it in the long way around inside these modules, please go ahead and check out my Maya for Beginners modeling series, where I explain how we use all of these common modeling tools that I would usually use. Alright, so go ahead and check that out. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to create the hand. Now first of all, what I want to do is I just want to kind of push this in just a bit. Alright, and we can start to push these guys out a bit more. Okay, because this is where the shoulder starts to happen over here. Right, so what the idea is that we kind of need to build on this big muscle group over here first before we go down below. And again, I know there's a lot of cloth and stuff going on. What we're building now is actually the blue side over here, all this blue area over here where you can see the muscle a bit more clearer, and then later on we'll build the armor on top of it. Alright, so that's why we can start to focus on some of these more important muscle groups. So the idea here is for me to go ahead and perhaps take, let's say I'll take these 3 edges over here, and I'm gonna extrude them and start to build on this major muscle group over here. So I'll extrude them twice, and I'm going to start to get this muscle group going over here. So as you can see, this is a major muscle group over here, and what we can do is next is to build on the lower part of this muscle group by extruding some of these other edges that we have over here. I'm just going to extrude this twice, right, for now, and of course I'll go ahead and merge them up. And from here we can start to move these muscle groups to the correct position where it goes a bit more downwards. Okay, so this group of vertices kind of hides inside here, and then after that this group of vertices pops out and show the real muscle mass that's going over there. Alright, so we still need to adjust it a bit more, but let's go ahead and bridge the gap over here. So we're going to use our pen to polygon tool, and all you have to do is to click this first edge over here and click the corresponding edge to fill up the gap, and press G to repeat the last command, and do the same for this guy over here. Alright, so we kind of got the muscle group going, and the reason why I didn't do the whole thing straight away, why I kind of separate out, is because so that we can see how the edge flow works a bit better, rather than having a lot of vertices at one time and for us to manage them all around. Alright, so I'm just going to organize some of these vertices just a bit more. Again, like I said, we're going to use a ZBrush to create some of these major groups anyway, but I just want to make sure that the topology and the organization is there in the first place, so that it wouldn't be too hard for us to sculpt this later on. Alright, now again, I know the flow of this guy is a bit weird where it goes this way, where it's better to have it straight on a T-pose, but we can go ahead and change that later on after we're done with the model. So it's okay for us to have it like this for now. And the main reason why usually people like to have T-pose is that when we do rigging and we start to do influence and stuff like that, Maya will get confused to have this bone, the vertices on this bone, to be assigned. Maya will get confused whether to assign to this guy or this guy because they're too close together. That's why they prefer it to have a T-pose. Alright, so let me just extrude this one more time and bring it down here. Now what I can do is I'm going to straighten this out, and then I'll rotate it back so that it will be a more straighter line. And now we'll start to again move some of these muscle groups along over here. So this will be the major muscle that is right at the bottom there. Right, again, we'll start to change some of this later on, but just want to make sure that the line is more or less there for now. And again, I'm going to go ahead and soften my edges. Right, so let's go over here and start to see where we can build upon this. Yep, something like that would be quite okay for now. Again, I'll go ahead and change some of this with a proper reference and stuff like that to get a much more proper anatomy going on over here. But the idea now is for me to just get my basic shape out there. So just want to make sure that the line is matching and stuff like that. Don't want to be too, don't spend too much time on it just yet. Later on we'll go and explore it a bit more. Here I'll just move the whole vertices around this way, and then I'll go ahead and add some loops around here, and from these loops we can straight away go ahead and move them a bit better. Again, like I said, just the basic lines and basic shapes first before we actually go on to make it a bit more detailed, right? So something like that is okay for now. And of course, go ahead and soften the edges. Alright, so I'm going to continue modeling our badass samurai character over here. What I want to do first is I just want to take these hands over here and just want to extract them. Right, so the idea is for me to show you how the flow is, because there's, even though the flow is kind of okay over here, but I'll prefer it to be in somewhere a bit more different, where it will define this area over here much better, so that when we do our rigging and stuff like that, a lot of these movements will be much more well defined. So if I were to just extrude this, and let me just, you know, make it bigger and stuff like that, and I just rotate it, so the idea is that the flow of these guys here has to flow down this way, right? He has to kind of flow down and follow the path right down this way, which is not exactly what it's doing at the moment. Alright, so we can kind of fix that. What I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and delete, I know we want to model this, but it's okay, I'm just going to delete some of these guys over here, right? Some of these faces over here, and what we can go ahead to do is we can start to merge some of them to what we currently have, and then we can start to define it a bit better, right? So the idea is that for example, this guy over here, if you just go to the front, he needs to kind of go down this way, right? He needs to go down. In fact, if possible, we want to connect it to right over here, right? So let's try to go and move that along. Alright, so I'm just gonna press the whole V for this. This goes this way, and I'll press and hold V to kind of move it along this way. So that means that there needs to be another line that goes through over here to connect to this guy, which we can do by adding a loop right down this way, and then I'll snap that to right over here. Right, so that kind of defines things a bit better. Of course, I need to move things around, stuff like that, but I'll go ahead and do that later on. So what I want to do first is to snap and make sure everyone has somewhere to go at least. Let's try pushing some of these areas around. Okay, so this guy will be snapped here instead. Right, so what I need to do is I need to kind of build that bridge over here. Right, so before we go ahead and do that, let me just go ahead and combine these two separate meshes that we have, and then we can go ahead and merge the vertices. Right, so I'll just merge in some of these areas over here first. Just pressing 3 to check that there is no gaps over there, just to make sure that I got everything. And then what I'm going to do is I'll start to use my pen to polygon tool to kind of build up that area again. Now over here we don't have enough mesh over here. Again, it's okay, what we can do is just delete that area for now. And because I have a line going on over here, let me see if I can delete this line as well, and perhaps I'll just merge these two together. Alright, so what I can do next is just to merge build the bridge over here and build the bridge over here. Right, that's set and done. Now let's try to move some of these vertices along so that it kind of follows the shape much better. Right, these guys can go down and out a bit. So yeah, the idea about modeling is you have to be very, it's a bit troublesome, I guess, but and when we go to sculpting, it's a bit more fun. But yeah, the idea is for us to move things around, move them into places so that it can follow a certain shape. Now, when you come to cross this situation over here where these three lines are quite close together, instead of moving them around, what I can do is I can just straight away go ahead and build a new line and delete this old line over here so that it kind of spreads out the area a bit more. Same goes for this guy over here. See, I have a lot of space over here while these lines are kind of cramped over there. So what I'll do instead is I'll draw that new line where he can utilize some of these extra spaces. Draw this one line real quick, and then what I can do is this old line I can select it and delete it away so that it utilize that space a bit better. I think it's a bit faster if you use that technique rather than having to push and pull each and every single vertex and edge along. It'll take you quite some time to do that. Alright, probably need to define the back a bit better. Again, I'm not too concerned about muscle groups and stuff like that. Like I said, it'll be an armor covering it. So I just want to get it to a nice, decent shape, that's all. Yep. Alright, so I'm just gonna soften the edges. Soften. And you can kind of see it's starting to take shape. Now, the thing that I'm not really liking so much is, first of all, right over here, I think the bicep needs more space. And I prefer it to follow this line across instead of having it to be too straight. So let's just take this, for example, and rotate it across that way. Probably want to squeeze it a bit more. Right, so try to slowly get this shape out. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the vertices over here. Press and hold D and then press and hold V to move the vertices and snap it to one of these vertex over here. Probably I'll snap it to this guy a bit better so that I change the pivot point. And what I can do is I can kind of like rotate this and move him along to a more relaxed position, a relaxed pose. Later on, what I'm probably going to do is I'm just going to make him just rotate this whole guy a bit more to the outside because it's a bit too close to the body for us to kind of do anything. But for now, I'm kind of okay with this pose. Right, probably let's just do that now to move it out just a bit more. What we can do is just select some of these vertices over here. Yeah, probably those group of vertices would do well. And these guys over here. Again, press note D and V. And I'm just gonna move it that way and just wanna, oops, make sure these guys are not selected. So I'm gonna rotate it out and up a bit more. Yep, so it's not too close to the body. Alright, so what I'm gonna do next is I'm just gonna define the hand just a bit more, just a bit on the bicep, a bit on the shoulder pad. I'm not going to go too much, like I said, armor is gonna get over it. So just want to define those areas a bit more, and then we'll start to do the legs and stuff like that.